You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another beautiful session here of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Javan Okello. I am in Seattle, Washington, but I am from Kenya, Kisumu, Kenya, right by Lake Victoria. That's my hometown originally. I relocated to Seattle, Washington in 2010. And I'm just really honored. Every day we get to gather here and discuss African proverbs and get wiser. Every single day when we gather here to discuss African proverbs, we get wiser. We don't take these words of our ancestors for granted. We uplift our ancestors by sharing these proverbs every single Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And today we are taking a journey to Ghana. And I was actually a little late today. My apologies. I got my COVID booster and then I got, a tetanus shot as well, and also a flu shot. So I was a little tired this morning. And I also took a lot of time just making my coffee, because one of my motivations for being here with you is that I have my cup of coffee and I can enjoy it while I produce this show. So I don't know, those who are watching can probably see my beautiful cup of coffee in a One Vibe branded mug. You know, we have these mugs on the One Vibe shop on Shopify. So if you want to have one of these, let me know. These mugs are actually really comfortable. They are huge, and I've visited with a few people this summer, and I've just been surprised to find that actually people in the community also have this exact mug. So if you're checking it out, that's how it looks like. It's really beautiful. Anyway, I see my friends and family are here, and we want to discuss a Ghanaian proverb. I want to add the link to this Ghanaian proverb to the top of the room in just a second here. And I know that, we are all ready for today's discussion. Today's discussion reminds me a lot about, family and the impact of what happens within the household, to what's going on around the country, to also what's happening globally, So the proverb itself from Ghana says that the ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. The ruins of a nation begins in the homes of its people. And this proverb is beautiful. It reminds me of charity begins at home. I don't know if you all remember that proverb as well. But we have 3 takeaways that I am going to share with you in a moment. But when you think about this proverb from Ghana, you find that it's believed that the key to a nation's success lies in the homes of its people. What the simple things that people do every day at home are the things that build the village. Those are the things that build the county. Then they build the state, then they build the nation, then they build the world, And so after all, it is the home that children are raised and values are instilled. And it is in the home that families bond and also memories are created. So therefore, it stands to be the only place that a nation can grow. Any strong nation has really strong values that are built within households. So if homes are happy and supportive, then people who live in them will be more likely to thrive, And then on the other hand, if homes are full of conflict and dysfunction, then the people who live in them will be more likely to struggle in very many aspects of their lives. Many times when I used to work in the corporate world here in America, you could tell someone who didn't even sleep okay, not because they didn't want to sleep okay, but because where they live, it's not conducive for them to rest. And, you find that the work, the job, the place of work is actually their home. And their home has become their work, and a nation can't be built when situations like that are rampant. So I want to quickly share the 3 takeaways, but I want you to take a moment, if you're joining me here for the Daily African Proverbs. This is being recorded for the African Father in America podcast. Remember, we are a 5-star rated podcast on Apple Podcasts. It's really important that we toot our own horns, especially after accomplishments that come out of blood, sweat, and tears like that, So I just want you to remember to share the link to this conversation here on Clubhouse, and also invite 3 to 5 of your friends to join us right now for the Daily African Proverbs. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Simon Javan Okelo. Actually, it's African Father in America, Now, the 3 takeaways. The first one is that the state of the nation is largely determined by the state of its homes and families. This is why every president always wants to campaign and address the needs that people have on a day-to-day basis, not the needs that people have tomorrow, not the needs that people have next year, and this is part of why, if you watched the speech of Kenya's president at the United Nations conference yesterday, he's very much pro climate change, and he did a good job with his speech, And one of the things that I took away from his speech, and also speeches from other leaders globally who are really, really pushing for climate change, I also think that they need to address the immediate needs of the people. How are people going to eat while they mitigate climate change? How are people going to clothe their children while they mitigate climate change? So thinking about how people can be taken care of is really, really important. Number 2, a healthy home life is necessary for strong, prosperous families, which are in turn necessary for a strong, prosperous nation. Now, in this case, if you look at Europe, especially the Scandinavian countries, they make it easy. Those people have like 3-month vacations every year, They make it easy for people to thrive, for people to serve their nations, wholeheartedly. And that's something that here in America we are terrible, In Africa we are horrible, at trying to ensure that people are well taken care of, So number 3, if the people of a nation are not taken care of, the nation itself will fall apart. This is common, This is common. We've seen this. We've seen, for example, most recently Sri Lanka. The people are not taken care of, but the president was living a lavish life. The people literally walked into the presidential palace. They evicted the president. There were videos all over the internet of people swimming in the presidential swimming pool and people enjoying the presidential gym, because the people are not taken care of. So those are some of the few comments to open up our session today. Remember, your presence here means a lot to me, and it's why we are growing one proverb at a time. So I want to turn over my microphone to my incredible audience members, my friends and my family. I see Steve here, I see Rushi and Brother and Lavender are already on the stage. I want to invite, Rocky and Ben B and MK, join me on the stage when you have a moment. For now, I want to hear what Steve has to say in regards to this proverb. The proverb itself from Ghana says, "The ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people." Steve, where are you joining us from, and what does this proverb remind you about?
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. 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 Good evening.
Steve might be talking but muted. So we will give you time to situate yourself, but we would definitely love to hear your voice. And I do see Dr. Latonya has joined us here. Thank you. Feel free to join us on the stage. We are here. We are talking about a beautiful African proverb from Ghana. And we are learning from this proverb that the ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. I just shared 3 nuggets here, and we are about to hear other words of wisdom from our friends and family who are here with us today. So feel free to join us. And also, I would encourage everyone who is listening and also who is watching on YouTube. We can't do this on our own. And if you just take a second, make sure you're sharing the live, whether it's on YouTube or on Clubhouse. Just share. It just takes, less than 10 seconds for you to be able to share it on other platforms, and also engage with this content right now. Let us know what you're thinking, in the comments. My brother Rushi, how are you doing? Where are you joining us from? And what are your thoughts in regards to today's proverb?
Thank you, Simon. My name is Rushi. I am joining everyone from Charleston, South Carolina. My thoughts on today's proverb is it makes me think about my upbringing, because this proverb is talking about the ruin of a nation. And what's so special about this proverb to me is they use the word ruin, R-U-I-N, which that word talks about the destruction. So you're talking about this proverb, I think, to me is stating that the destruction of a nation begins at home. And this makes me think of, you know what it really makes me think of? It makes me think of my community where I live, that I love so dearly. It's a community that was all Black community growing up. But the community, it changed so much in the early 90s when the crack epidemic started. And that was the demise of our nation, of our Black nation. I remember at that time I was probably 11 or 12 or 13 years old, and my community was so vibrant. It was an all Black community. The kids, including myself, we would go to each other's homes. We would play all day together. We lived right near the water, so we would go crabbing and fishing. But as soon as the crack epidemic happened, it and some of my friends' parents were on drugs, and I saw the change in my friends. That some of my friends were so ashamed of the parents. We couldn't go to their houses anymore. They acted so differently. Some of my friends who were less fortunate economically, they started selling drugs. And once they started selling drugs, they stopped playing. There was no more playing basketball because they were working, selling drugs or what have you. And a lot of my friends ended up going to jail for a long time. So it was the beginning of the end of a beautiful community, not just my community, but a lot of communities across the world. So it makes me think of how true this is. You learn so much inside your home, and whatever you learn in your home, you have to bring out. I see so many kids who have problems in school, and sometimes that's the only outlet some of our kids have to let us know that they do have problems at home. Some kids that get in a lot of fights, it's because they witness or they are engaged in a lot of fights at home. So it makes me think of that. If you pay attention to, especially our kids, the way they act, the way that they engage with adults, it tells you a lot about what they learn at home or what they don't learn. And one thing about me is I work in real estate, and I get the opportunity to go in so many people's homes on a yearly basis. I probably go in to 200 to 300 people's houses a year, and which was so during the pandemic, it was so interesting because everyone was home. When I walk to someone's house and the wife is there, the kids are there, I can tell so much about how the husband interacts with his wife, how he interacts with his kids, how the kids interact with a visitor or a guest. It is so telling once you're inside someone's home, what their safe space and how they interact with you. It tells you a tremendous amount of information. One thing that's interesting about the South, where I live at in Charleston, is I've been in so many people's houses where, I've been to so many white people's houses where you walk in and I know that they're racist because of what they have in their houses. A lot of really racist white people, when you walk into the houses in the South, they always have a lot of Confederate memorabilia. They always have a lot of historical remnants of slavery, not in a good way. And then when you look at their kids, if their kids are of driving age or in the 16, 17 age, their kids will always have a pickup truck, and their pickup truck will always have a Confederate flag with some saying on it that's very hurtful. So this is a very, 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 very true proverb, about a nation, or about what people learn at home and what they bring out. Even when they try to hide things, you can't really hide the things that you learn at home. You only can unlearn them from my experience. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, my brother Rushi. Wow, just incredible share there, and also contribution. I love how much you can learn from observation, and what people have around their homes, and also how people's children and how people treat each other in their own home. Says a lot, not just about their home, but the nation. And as you are describing how homes of racists in the region of the world where you live, where you are right now, some of the things you pick up, it also shows what exists in the real world. So this proverb is very, very spot on when it comes to defining what determines the state of a nation. I want to just welcome everyone who is here with us. We are live streaming on YouTube. My channel is African Father in America Podcast, and the link is at the top of the room if you want to join us for the live stream. And also we are right now on Clubhouse, and I see we have a number of beautiful friends and family joining us today. I want you to take a minute and share this room within Clubhouse and leave a comment about what it is that you're hearing right now. I'm doing that myself. I'm just doing that myself. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel and share the link to this live stream on Twitter, on Facebook, so that we can grow this beautiful community that we've been growing since January 2021. And then I want to quickly give a shout out to Sambaza Podcast. This is a brother from Kenya who is a great podcaster, a great community builder, and he's watching this on YouTube right now, and he's just saying he's here live and direct, and I deeply appreciate that. As a podcaster, when another seasoned podcaster is listening to you and supporting you, you get a little you feel a little nervous. You know that you're also doing something right. That's why you're being supported like that. So your presence here means a lot, and I want to know how I can support you too, my brother. And now I want to move on. I want to check in with Stephen quickly. Stephen, can you unmute and just let us know if you're now in a better place to speak? I want to hear your voice if possible.
Thank you, Simon. Hello, everyone. I'm Steven, joining from Kisumu, Kenya, in our offices, One Vibe Africa. Thank you for having me, Simon. Today's proverb reminds me of a lot, a state that I was in a couple of months back. But what it brings to my mind first is I'm trying to relate it to our state of mind, our mental health. And to bring my point home is uh, when you are not in a right state of mind, or if you are not mentally healthy, then you cannot heal somebody who also goes through the struggles that you're going through. So the ruins of a nation begins in the homes of its people. If our nation and leadership of any given nation have got no good intent and the interest of its people at heart, then that nation will always be full of chaos every now and again. Thank you, Simon, for having me. That was my moment.
Wonderful, Steve. Yeah, just hearing your contribution is a privilege, and reminds me of a conversation I've had this Friday with a group of brothers here in Seattle, where we were talking about our relationship to Africa. You know, there are so many African people worldwide, many, and not many of them have actually been to the continent. So in the group that I'm a part of, you know, we were about 12 people, and maybe half of us have never been to Africa, and half of us have. And half of us actually grew up there. Not half of us, but maybe I'm the only one who grew up in Africa in that whole group. But it was just an incredible conversation. And one of the things I miss is the kind of noises you in the background. The way that children are raised in Africa is really communal, you know. This is fading away. You know, the way that I grew up, you find that I would leave the house, I would leave school on Friday and not even go home. I would go to a soccer tournament in a different neighborhood, play, spend the night at a friend's home. The next day, play, go to different soccer tournaments, play. Then Sunday, I meet my family in church. Nobody asks a question because people somehow knew where you are. You know, even though there were no cell phones those days, your mom knows exactly where you are, because sometime I would also not, I would leave home and not go to school, and you'd find that a neighbor picks you up and takes you right back to school. You know, so those days are fading. And when I heard the noises behind you, Steve, I just remembered those old good days. Brother Earth is going to be our next speaker on the stage. And if you're just joining us on YouTube, you're probably wondering, what is this show about? So we're here discussing an African proverb. And every day we've been gathering here discussing different African proverbs. And our hope is to preserve our culture by sharing these proverbs and by gathering as a community globally, but virtually, and making sure that we uplift our ancestors by, discussing these words that guided them and recording them for our podcast and making them available for our own children. So that's why we are here. And I'm going to pass it on to Brother Earth, who is a great supporter of this work. How are you doing today? Where are you joining us from? And what are your thoughts on the proverb?
Peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings, family. I always honor you and all the family, Simon, for the wisdom of the ancestors y'all dropping. Let me know if it's get kind of topic, because I'm in a low spot right now. But
You sound good. Just get closer to your mic, a little more closer, so that we hear you very well.
Okay, how about now? Is that any better?
That's so good. That's so good. Keep going.
Okay. And when I read the proverb, what it makes me think of, the ruin of a nation begins in the home of its people. And if you look at it in this aspect, like the whole nation is almost like a quilt, and the communities would be the like the different panels of different squares in the quilt, and then the families are the actual thread. So if you putting together a quilt, um, and the families are dysfunctional, um, how long do you expect the quilt to last? The family is the smallest molecule of the nation, and if we don't know how to properly be a family, if we don't know how to, you know, come together, unify, then trying to be a successful community is slim to none. And the so-called African Americans or the so-called black people over here, uh, the family structure has been under attack for a long time, and it's been very intentional. Back in the day when they first came out with the welfare and the government assistance, in order for the woman to receive these things, they had to put the man out the house. When they put the man out the house, the social workers used to come, look up under the bed for the man's shoes, look in the closet for his clothes, look for pictures in the house, and if they found these things, they would not that would disqualify the woman for the benefits. So once they got the woman out the house, it's just the woman and the children there. So now the woman trying to make ends meet, she out working a job or two. No one's at home with the children. Now instead of adults raising the children, it's babies raising babies now. Children babysitting children instead of the elders being there to do that, because it takes a village to raise a child. And then after the mother's been gone out the home so long, when she tried to come back home and discipline her children, then that's when they implemented child protective services. So now the mother can't even properly discipline the children. So they put a wedge between the mother and the father. Then they put a wedge between the children and the mother to a degree. And then a lot of instances, if a person is dealing with certain traumas, it could cause the mother to draw a wedge between the father and the children as well. And it's something that has to be intentional. And we really, here, so-called black people, we really need to put a value, restore the value to what it means to be a family, and really be mindful of trying to be successful families, because that's how we're going to be able to uplift ourselves as a nation. I come in love and I leave in pieces, Brother Earth.
My goodness, Brother Earth, you just said very, very important things in your contribution, and we have to pay attention to what you talked about, and also offer our time and offer our support, especially when we know it. Now that we know how the system is actually designed to keep the black family, especially here in America, apart. I've seen it amongst my friends. I've seen it amongst people that I just know by virtue of them attending a lot of the events I produce. I produce a lot of events in Seattle, so I know a lot of people and I see a lot of people, and over the years you see that, these people are showing up as a family, and then suddenly it's just the mother and the children, and then one day you just see maybe the mother alone, maybe the child alone, and of course it's not my place to even judge or think of anything. But initially, I just think that, maybe schedules could not allow everybody to be there. Then later on, you see on social media that this and this happened. But then, you realize that you also can't help everyone. So it reminds you to really ground yourself and rescue yourself and your own family, because you are also a target. Everybody is a target. As long as, you're black in this world, you're a target, and you just have to be aware. You just have to be aware and learn from each other. I want to hear from Lavender and Stella and Dr. Latanya, who is here, and then we are going to hear from Kay and Cass, Then we are going to wrap up our time together today. So, Lavender, how are you? Where are you joining us from today? And what does this proverb mean to you?
Hi, Simon. Hi, everybody. It's amazing to see all of you here today. And speaking from Aspen currently, and grateful to be here with you all. My thoughts about today's proverb: the ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. There are different opinions have about the proverb. Um, First, I'd like to point out the saying you shared, Simon: charity begins at home. And also another Swahili proverb that says, asiyefunzwa na mamake hufunzwa na ulimwengu. That means when somebody is not disciplined or taught at home, then the world will teach them. When we come across people in our walks of life, you can tell the kind of background or the kind of upbringing somebody had, and how somebody treats people, how somebody carries out themselves is a big reflection of how they were brought up. So anytime we are walking around, we are a representation of our communities and our families as a whole. And on the other hand, I'd also like to point out that when we treat our souls as a home, you find that hurt people, and it starts from a single person and it spreads out, because on a daily basis, you'll find that we get to interact with different people, whether we are introverted or extroverted. You need to buy things from people when you're communicating with anybody. When you're paying your bills, you interact with people. And you find that some people are usually just bitter and will be going around spewing negativity. And the people who will be ruined from all this bitterness, and it will change the people around them, which becomes bigger in numbers. Also, there's this saying about letting in. A boat doesn't sink unless the captain lets water into the boat. Simon mentioned something about being grounded. When you're grounded and believe in the kind of person you are, every storms you go through will not affect the kind of person you are. Thank you, Simon, for giving me the opportunity to share. I'm Lavender and I'm done speaking.
That's great, Lavender. I love to hear you take the space and just speak the way you spoke today. So I just appreciate it. And yes, if the captain lets water into the boat, the boat sinks for sure, for sure. Thank you so much. Stella, how are you doing today? Where are you joining us from? And what are your thoughts on today's proverb from Ghana? Okay, we'll give Stella a moment there. Hey, Stella, you there?
Hey, Simon.
Hey.
Yes, I'm here, but it's too noisy. I'm
Oh.
on the road.
Oh, are you in a
Yes.
matatu or on a piki?
No, I'm at the stage. You know, Kisumu stage.
Near Kisumu Boys. Is that where the stage still
Yes.
is? Oh, yeah. I went to school just across the street from there. I used to go to that stage every many times per day. I used to have lunch there too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that used to be my
Yes,
playground.
here it's a bit.
No problem,
I think
Stella.
the proverb also reminds me of a saying that says, "Spare the rod and spoil the child." Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you. Get close to your mic just a little bit. Just a little bit. Are you there, Stella? Okay, we lost Stella for a moment. We'll come back to Stella. For me, I just eat up all the sounds. I'm so in tune with sounds. And so when I hear the noises, that's part of why I ask, where are you joining us from, so that I can relate the sounds that come off of your mic. While you're speaking, I can just travel the journey of where you are together, Anyhow, let's hear from Dr. Latanya here. How are you doing today? Thank you for taking the time to join us. Share with us your thoughts, where you're joining us from, and any words of wisdom that you may want to share.
Good morning, Simon and everyone. It is a delight to be back, and I'm enjoying everything I'm hearing, and I'm loving this proverb because I just saw The Woman King a few days ago. And truly, the ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. And we can look at the homes as the physical home where the family is raised, or we can look at the community, we can look at the nation. Um, and for me, and I can identify with the gentleman that spoke earlier about when crack cocaine came into the communities. And when we look at the pain of the people, it impacted the outcome of our community. And as a result, it impacted our nation. Drugs infiltrated and was accepted in because it was a substitute to replace the pain that the people were feeling. And alcohol, all these things that were abused, was a temporary or instant gratification to cover up the pain that was deep in the hearts and the wounds of our people. And so I truly believe in this Ghanaian proverb, and that if we don't deal with the pain and discipline ourselves and heal, the United States is going to get worse. Each country gets worse if it does not deal with the pains and the wounds that it inflicted upon its own people. And so those are my words for today and my thoughts. And thank you for having this topic today. This is a very powerful one. Thank you, Simon, so much.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you for taking the time, and we are just grateful that you're back here with us. I can't wait to see you over the next few days and months and weeks. It's really, really an honor. Hey Kay, how are you today? Let me just check with Stella real quick. Stella, do you want to try again now, or do you want us to go to Kay and Cass and then come back to you? I just want to make sure we don't forget totally about you. Yeah, Stella is definitely in at the stage. Where Stella is. Just to give you some context, it's one of the busiest bus stations in Kenya, actually, and that's where people board their transportation after work. People go to different parts of Kisumu. Kisumu is the third largest city in Kenya, so Stella is heading home right now. It's almost like like the train stations here in the US, where everybody converges after work, and it's just crazy. So, Kay, we would love to hear your voice. Share with us your perspectives on today's proverb, and also where you are at the moment.
Good morning. Hello. Greetings, everybody. The ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. Yes. I think that This proverb is so important because of an experience that I had in terms of my home and family falling apart in a way that I had no idea it would happen, and to this day don't know how it happened. But a year ago, I gave it to God, and God fixed it. And I think that we have allowed a lot of hurt to run our families. And I could be still hurt right now because I still don't understand. But God has given me a spirit that the pain of the situation is gone and the family has been brought back together. So I just want to encourage, especially in this country when we're all into self-care, which I see as a part of individualism in a smaller context, and for us to, before we get into self-care, know who you are. Decide this is who you want to be, and then take care of that. And I would want to encourage everyone that if you have confusion, hurt, pain in your family, don't normalize it. Don't say, well, it is what it is, and she did this and he did that. And figure out a way. And if you can't, just give it to God in whatever way that means to you. Give it to God to handle. But don't just keep wallowing in it. And I really want to take, I often hear the saying, hurt people hurt. And I contend that most hurt people do not hurt. And some hurt people really go out of their way not to hurt others because they don't want anybody else to go through what they went through. So every time I hear that saying, it gives me a little pause. And I just want to suggest that we look at that differently, and encourage people, if you have something in your home that is not right and you can't figure out how to make it right, give it to God. Thank you.
Yes. Give it to God. He is the creator, and when you let go, a solution comes. And also, we can't. Our families cannot be perfect. Look at what was happening during the funeral of the Queen. The dysfunctions in the family were on international display. And every family has something that could be better, So I also just, beseech you to not to not aim at making your family perfect, but just great and healthy and thriving, and be ready to deal with the challenges as they come. I think unity, having a united family, having a united nation is really, really important, so that when any challenge comes about, you face it as a unit, So if you're just joining us now on YouTube, I definitely want you to know that you are very much appreciated. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I encourage you to do that now. That's one of the ways that you can support this movement. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, that's where I post these proverbs a few hours before I come live here on Clubhouse and also on YouTube. So you can go to my Instagram through my Clubhouse profile. It's at Okello Javan. That's where you'll be able to catch these proverbs even when you can't make it for this live broadcast Monday to Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can always engage with the content on Instagram. Now I want to come to you, Cass. How are you doing? Welcome, Robert. I see that Robert just joined us. It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a minute. Thank you for joining us. Let's hear from you, Cass. How are you? Where are you joining us from? And what does today's proverb mean to you?
Hi, everyone. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Cass, if you could come closer to your mic. We hear you, but you're very, very low.
Better now. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Much better now. Carry on, please.
No. All right. Thank you. Just to what the proverb means to me, I think we all have shared, and I've also learned from other perspectives. I think is everything is almost in the same similarity. So, but for me, I would say, just like we know that environment impacts behavior, so I believe that everything should start from the home. And the home, I think the first home is the heart. So when you start to learn things that could advance the way your mind works, I think that's where the education starts from and how you can better your life. So I believe that this proverb is connecting me to a household because if you encourage your family and teach them the right things, your family is not just your child or your own son. I think your family is everybody within your neighborhood, your community, your neighbors, the way you relate with them, the way you encourage them, the way you educate them, the way you allow them to sample their opinions and educate them from your own perspective is very important. And also having that heart to forgive and, just be on the positive side to say this is the right way to go or this is the right decision to make. That's going to, because if you start good from the home, definitely you have the good heart to be on the right path to do things that will empower people at large scale. Yeah, so I land my plane. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Of course, Cass. Thank you very much. I love how you say that the first home is your heart, and taking care of your heart, just the physical well-being of your heart, but also the emotional well-being of your heart, is really, really important. I appreciate it. I hope to hear you here and see you here more. I would love that. If you're just joining us here on Clubhouse for the first time, please take a moment and follow the African Father in America Club. It's at the very top of the room, that little green house. Make sure you tap in with us and also nominate 3 to 5 people to join the African Father in America Club. That way, when we are live here on Clubhouse, you'd be amongst the first people to be notified. And also, if you are joining us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've been here for right about 1 hour, and we are now coming towards the end of our time together. I just want to give Stella an opportunity to speak if she's in a better position. Stella, just let me know if you are able to speak. If not, tomorrow is another day, right? Okay. Stella is an amazing member of the One Vibe team. Lavender and Steve are also my colleagues at One Vibe. We work together. We run a non-profit organization called One Vibe Africa. I founded the organization in the wake of the post-election violence in Kenya in 2008. And then recently, about 2.5 years ago, we started One Vibe Media, which is a media company that is serving our community members here in the US and back at home. So if you want to learn more, connect with any one of us, Lavender, Stella, and Steven, right next to me on the Clubhouse space. Once again, today has been an amazing time with you all. Whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Clubhouse, or if you will listen to this on the podcasting platforms where we are going to distribute this conversation. Today, this is episode 260, 260. Yeah, that's something really special. And I deeply appreciate you all for making this possible. So I'll see you tomorrow for our last session of this week. I would love for you to bring a friend tomorrow. So remember somebody that needs to be a part of this conversation and bring them on so that we can continue building our community one proverb at a time. With those few comments, I just want to thank you again, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace and love.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.